from my experience, what I see at the moment happening, or especially through the last 2 to 3 years, were a lot of founders that were focusing on building a super beautiful and super resistant product from day one, but not thinking about the go-to-market enough. And what you described sounds like not the complete opposite. I think you're definitely a product guy who has a very, very nurtured product vision, but also thinking about, okay, what's the easiest way to bring the product across and start with it. And then if the traction is there, then to do everything else.
Yeah, I think different entrepreneurs and different builders have different styles. My style is like, make the shittiest possible thing and put it in front of people and get some feedback on it. And if people like it, then we'll refine it. And there's certainly other people that are like, I need to make a really beautiful thing that I am 100% proud of before I show it to anyone. It's just, there's different ends of that spectrum. And I think it depends on the founding team and maybe their confidence in their product, or confidence in their ability to change something once it's been out. The two things I'm working on now at Street FC and with Living Cities, right, we're definitely pulling from the let's just do stuff and see what happens, as opposed to let's craft something beautiful and then launch the most beautiful thing we can. And I mean that's just a personal choice in the style. I just prefer to work in the environment.
Do you feel a bit more pressure, especially with Living Cities, because all three of you are super successful founders and well known, that people want to see a polished product from day one?
I think there's definitely there's a curse of the second time entrepreneur, right? And the curse is not the curse, but the weight of it. I did this thing, and now people expect the next thing to be as good as the last thing. And sometimes you forget how crappy your first thing was when you started it, and how you're aware of how crappy your second thing is when you have it. And you're like, gosh, I really can't push this thing out there. I think there's I think it's Paul Graham that's got this great quote, which is if you are not embarrassed by the first version of your product, you have waited too long to launch it. And I feel like we live by that, right? You want to take stuff and push it. You don't have to push it out to the public. You just got to put it in front of people and learn from it. And, understand, how people are interpreting it. And so, yes, there is some of that with the Living Cities team. It's man, we've all done pretty cool stuff. You don't want to push something out there that's kind of half-baked. But, really, in order to make any progress, you have to feel comfortable, putting yourself out there. And I think sometimes you have to make yourself a little bit vulnerable and open to you might be disappointed by this thing that we made, but can you see where it could go once we continue to get it there? And I think that's kind of, that's the balance. But I mean, I feel that all the time with anything that I work on.
Are you a perfectionist? Okay, you always see the end vision that you have in mind. You're okay, I'm never there. I'm always okay, I know what I could improve. I still know what I could improve with, let's say, for example, Foursquare.
I think I used to be a perfectionist, right? Where I really, really obsess over the vision of the product that I had. Maybe perfectionist isn't the right word.
Uh-huh.
But there's, I think one of the big lessons I've learned from the Foursquare experience is, the things that I wanted the product to be, sometimes those features would be, when the thing grows to, tens of millions of users, the things that I really lust over, the products I lust over, are products that, 5% of the users would use. And, at some point you have to take yourself down a notch and be listen, we're not going to build the visionary stuff right now. We're going to spend some time eating our vegetables and just optimizing the onboarding and the first user experience and the first 5 days of the product, right? And that takes a lot of discipline to do, because it's not fun. Right? When you build something, you build as fast as you can to get past that stage so you can then build all the cool stuff after that. But the curse of if you build something that people you really got to go back in time and then optimize in the early days, right? So that you continue to make sure that the thing is magical for new users and, welcoming to new users, irrelevant to new users, right? And that's just, it's tricky to do both of those things at once. You want to push the product towards its North Star, but then you also have to continue to garden the weeds of the onboarding process and like the first user experience.